Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys a little bit this morning about the diet industry and the harm that it causes. So let me go ahead and put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. And you know guys, normally I harp on about the supplement industry and the problems that it caused, but then you have the diet industry, and granted there is a degree of overlap at this point, but I usually harp on about the supplement industry, but I want to talk about the diet industry. Now, when I get these rants, occasionally I get people who are like, Jason, I thought you were pro-capitalism. I am. But business has historically worked by someone out there seeing a need for a service or product and creating a product to fill that role, even if people didn't know they needed that product. But they create something that has value, and that's the most successful businesses. The problem that, again, like the supplement industry creates many of the problems that it supposedly solves. Whereas in the diet industry is pulling essentially a con on people, right? It's pulling a con on people and it's playing to people's weakness. And yeah, it has identified that there's a problem, that we have an obesity problem, and the average person doesn't really seem to truly know what to do about it. And partially because the diet industry itself has marketed so heavily as it's built up over the years, it's actually changed people's perceptions about what is necessary to lose weight and keep that weight off. And it's largely to blame, and it's created basically a false product. And it's thrown in people's faces 24/7. It's always these fad diets. Buy this diet book, follow this diet, and you'll see rapid weight loss. And you see it on all these magazine covers and the tabloid. You see it everywhere. You walk through the grocery store, you go to the checkout lines, and there'll be magazines and stuff for some of the stuff. There's ads on TV. There's ads all through social media. It's advertised everywhere, and it gives people this impression that the key to losing a bunch of weight is some quick, magical, rapid fat loss diet. In other words, doing something drastic for a very short period of time, and then your problem is solved. Well, the problem is that obesity is not created by something you did in the short term. Obesity is created by long-term lifestyle factors, right? Having a bad lifestyle. That's what causes obesity. It's basically overeating, eating more calories than you burn chronically over months and years. That's what causes obesity. That's what causes people to get fat. It's nothing to do with a quick fix. You didn't create it with a quick situation, and ultimately what happens is that the diet industry convinces people that they follow this really restrictive diet, and now it's supported by different supplements, so the supplement industry has moved in with this, and it's kind of in bed with it, and anything the supplement industry touches is going to end up being a scam. All right, that's just the way it goes. That industry, we really need to find a way to get rid of it, and I don't mean by government restriction per se, unless they want to hit them for false advertising and selling products that don't work. That would be interesting. Just flat banning the whole industry because it's promoting and selling billions of dollars worth of products that don't actually do anything. I mean, that could fall under false advertising. The FDA gives them an exception, though, doesn't it? They paid enough money for lobbying to get an exception to where they're allowed to legally false advertise. The supplement industry has an exception to the rule. Interesting. If you did that with any other business, you would be put out of business very, very quickly. Interesting how that works. But it's advertised to people to the point where they think that is the solution. Yeah, some of these diets, people lose weight, and I don't care whether it's a ketogenic diet or a vegan diet, but all these other things, instead of them telling people, hey, the key to successful weight loss based upon all the research we have is gradual changes in your lifestyle that become permanent. In other words, people who lose weight and keep it off very rarely follow any of these fad diets. That's the exception, not the norm. It's normally people who've adjusted and made lifestyle changes gradually, changed their eating habits, and they continue to exercise and they continue to use different support systems and things that they have available to them. And the problem is that is not that people don't lose weight. It's that when we go look at the statistics, the percentage of people who lose a large amount of body weight and keep it off is something like 5%. Like 1 in 20 people who lose weight successfully keep it off. And the diet industry is largely to blame for this. Hell, I'll go so far as to say that even some of these surgeries, gastric bypass surgery. I mean, I'm going to give an example. I mean, people act like, oh yeah, they give them all this stuff. They always say, well, they make sure they try diet and exercise. No, they don't. They give them questionnaires. Because I've known a couple different people who've had lap bands, and right before the lap band, their supposed diet and exercise, they sat around eating like shit and filled out on the forms that they've tried months and months of dieting and exercise. No, they didn't. They didn't eat healthy for 2 years straight. They did not. If they did, they wouldn't have needed the lap band. And ultimately, I mean, I remember one of the stories with this was my mom had a co-worker when my mother was alive who had the lap band surgery, and she was working her way back up because or like the stomach shrinkage thing, she was working her way back up to where she could eat more pizza again. It's like, I've gotten up to where now I can eat 3 whole slices of pizza, and it's like, yeah, this is the person who, when later on, they're just going to be fat again, because they're in that mentality of now they lost 100 pounds or whatever, but they're still in that mentality of can they still squeezing all this food in spite of their stomach and everything being reduced in size, or their ability to consume it, of trying to bypass that the best that they could. Again, that's a person who would have rebounded on any fad diet. That's a person who, after that surgery later on, they are going to be obese again, because you fall right back into the same habits that made you fat. If you take a lifestyle and you get fat, and then you have something that helps you dramatically drop 30, 40, 50 pounds or more, and you go right back to the same lifestyle that made you fat again, guess what? You're going to be fat again. But the problem is that you've got this diet industry is trying to sell people products to help them with quick weight loss instead of what the fitness industry should be doing. Our job is to teach people better eating habits, to get people physically active, right? Increase their activity, help them build muscle, get them in the gym, lifting weights. Lifestyle changes that become permanent. In other words, something that most people aren't willing to do, or at least a close variation of, for the rest of their life, you probably shouldn't use to lose weight. Now, me, I'm cutting right now, obviously, but would I continue to do the exact diet for life that I'm doing? No, I would probably increase my intake. But would the principles and ideas behind the diet and what I do and what I eat be very similar to maintain later? Yeah, it would just be a little more food, right? It would be more food. But it would essentially be a very similar concept, maybe a little less protein, a little more carbs, a little more fat maybe. Overall, but it wouldn't be a dramatic change, and I wouldn't necessarily be changing my exercise routine dramatically. I wouldn't be reducing my exercise, let me put it that way. And so that's ultimately what people need to think about. Any method that they use to lose weight can't be a fad. It needs to be something that you could look at and say, could I see myself still doing something very close to this 5 years or 10 years from now without it being a problem for me? Is it something that you could develop into a habit? And most of these extremely restrictive diets are not something people are going to say, oh yeah, I'm still going to be doing this in 10 years, because people don't. And I don't care whether it's the ketogenic diet or a paleo diet or a vegan diet. Almost every person who becomes full-fledged members of the cults of any of those diets eventually come off of them. And that's the statistics. That's the statistics. Because they're just really ridiculously restrictive. They're ridiculously restrictive. And those are not even the most restrictive ones. There are way more crazy fad diets that are out there that are marketed and sold. And, at the end of the day, guys, this whole industry here, the diet industry, is created because the advertising is in the mainstream people, not the fitness world's face, but to the mainstream, the face of, this is the key to losing weight quickly. It's either, some crazy diet, some crazy weight loss product that you can melt belly fat fast. Right? Instead of teaching people proper health education, which is, again, better eating habits and better exercise and training habits. That's it. That's really the reality. That would actually solve the entire obesity crisis, right? Just those personal choices and personal accountability. But we've got a whole industry that plays to people's laziness, to the point to where people accept that that's truth because it's advertised in their face all the time. It's false advertising. And it's making the problem worse. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.